thank you to all the deans and representatives of different colleges. So we have a large number of new faculty, so that's good. I mean, we're growing, and we have new disciplines and new specialties that are being developed, so good. I'm glad to see new faces on campus every so often. I'm tired of my own face in the mirror. I believe it's my turn to try to entertain you for a little while, and we have a state of the faculty address. So by definition, the chair of faculty senate is supposed to deliver that. Do the best I can, okay? Bear with me, it's new to me. So I had to take notes, which I don't like to do when I give lectures, but I'm gonna read. My apologies. The very first thing I would like to do is thank all the members of the standing committee for the university for the work that they have done over the last year, last semester in particular. We have a large amount of work that's done by the elected members of the standing committees, and they've done an outstanding job. So to all of them, old and new, equally. The new faculty senate office has been elected in May, so May 3rd, if my memory serves me okay, and my Alzheimer's disease is not too bad yet, so I think it's still okay. I was elected, but I was not the only one. I have a vice chair, Dr. Tomisiro, and from the School of Pharmacy, I was secretary, Cynthia Jones. Cynthia? So I'm doing my best to work with them and keep them entertained as well, but they're a tough crowd. Let me see, I mentioned earlier that we have a new faculty senate constitution. So it was put for an e-vote and was ratified on September 19th. We had, I believe, close to 90% vote in favor of changing the constitution, and do the math, the rest of them were against it. So it changed. That takes place as of now, which means that, for example, the University Function Committee is actually thanked and will be partially replaced by the Executive Committee, who take charge of the task that the University Function had prior to the new faculty senate constitution. The details of all the changes that are on the faculty senate are on the new version, which is actually online. You can find the new version of the faculty senate constitution on the faculty senate website. I could read the complete address with all the details in there, but if you click on it, you'll find it. It's highlighted somewhere because it's very long, so I don't want to read it to you. We'd be here until 9 o'clock tonight. To give you a brief summary of the changes that are included in the new approved constitution, I'm going to tell you, as I said earlier, that the University Function Standing Committee has been dissolved. So if you were part of that, we're going to have to recycle you to a different committee. But don't give up. We still need you. Two professional schools have been affected by the change as far as the number of senators that they will have at faculty senate meetings. The School of Medicine goes down to 3 members, 3 senators, plus 3 alternates. So that if they are missing for a particular reason, say surgery, for example, a big toe, which is going to be a new specialty soon at the John C. Edwards School of Medicine, just to make sure. I'll be customary, I'm sure, sometimes in the future. The School of Pharmacy also will have 3 senators and 3 alternates. So that's a slight change from the previous version of the Faculty Senate Constitution. And not to leave the chairs out of the meetings, we have now a representative of the Council of Chair at the Executive Committee. It's going to be a non-voting ex officio member, but we'll get the information for chair directly from Dr. Michael Castellani, who's been the selected or elected representative of the Council of Chair. I do not remember if it's elected or selected. Those are basically most of the changes that are more critical. There are a few other ones, so if you want the exhaustive list of that, read the document. It's only 15 pages, give or take 1 or 2. Single-spaced, font 5. 12, excuse me. So I'm going to give you an idea of what's been happening in the different standing committees based on the end-of-the-year report. So this is the information that was provided to Amy, Cynthia, Tom, and myself, and I tried to summarize that to the best of my abilities. So there are certainly a few things here and there that are going to be missing because otherwise it would take way, way, way too long. So I'm going to go alphabetically. So the Academic Planning Committee had 6 recommendations that were approved, including an intent to plan a Bachelor of Science degree in Computer and Information Security, which is a new program. If you were on the floor at the time, you probably remember those. There were discussions. That was interesting. We're working on the creation of standardized review template for evaluating letters of intent to plan so that we can streamline the process. And there were a few glitches here and there, so we're going to try to iron out all the glitches and make sure that it's as smooth and smooth sailing as possible. They also were working on development of a well-defined meeting schedule and series of submission deadline for letter of intent to plan, which is part of the process. Let me see. At the moment of the last meeting, they had a letter of intent to plan a Bachelor of Science in Health Promotion and Wellness Management was in discussion. So I do not know at which stage we're at on this one. I'll be waiting for the next report that we will get from that particular committee, from the APC. The Athletic Committee had no new recommendation. A subcommittee was created to further investigate electronic student athletes progress reports so that all faculty do not have to sign everything when the students come to you and cannot find you. We'll do that electronically if we can, sometimes in the future. There were discussions with the Budget and Academic Policy Standing Committee in regard to priority registration for all student athletes. And again, this is under discussion, so we do not have a final recommendation yet. Didn't make it to Executive Committee that I know of. Physical Facility and Planning Committee, the PFP, had one recommendation. There were discussion of the LED conversion on campus, the lights, the one that's flickering right now, receiving a report from Randy Jacob-Jones to let us know that the timetable was established and about 85% of the building was supposed to be equipped with the new LED lights by the end of fiscal year 2018. So Brandy, I think we're probably there. Correct me if I'm wrong. So we're 15% down, 85% done, 15 to go. They expected to be done, the last 15%, by during the 18-19 year and completed by 2019-2020. Those lights are very bright. Believe me, I turned them off because I'm light sensitive. Sustainability Department and recycling was discussed as well. One of the topics of discussion was a bike path that would go through campus. Kiova and Marshall University and the City of Huntington were collaborating to fund a study to connect Marshall University location with bike lanes. So we have already existing bike lane. You notice that on 4th Avenue. And we're trying to expand that and see what campus can contribute as far as safely riding bicycles. And in this town can be challenging. Kiova graciously agreed to fund 80% of the study and serve as project manager. And the university will be responsible for the 20% remaining. The study will take place during this year and early next year, and we're trying to get a quote. The first quote was an estimate for the study would cost about $35,000. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that's the last number we had. We also had issues about classroom security and active shooter training, so that has been ongoing. You probably have seen that either attending yourself or seen online tutorial for those particular issues, which are important in this day and age, unfortunately. The committee is considering an active shooter training to be encouraged and offered to new faculty as part of the orientation. That might be something to be discussed more by that particular committee. The committee also discussed and reviewed several options for classroom safety. That was under the direction of Brandy Jacob-Jones. And to date, a cost-effective solution was not available. And we're talking about if there's a shooter somewhere, how do you block doors? How do you get your student protected? And eventually yourself. And putting new security would be probably highly expensive, I assume. So we're still relying on trying to hide under certain things or blocking doors with whatever is available, which is better than nothing. The 2020 Committee on Parking and Enforcement, the committee reviewed multiple issues that have to do with manpower available for ticketing, lack of enforcement, and loss of revenue and possible solutions to address the lack of new people that could be able to put tickets on your cars. The Budget and Academic Policy Committee, the BAPC, had 6 recommendations. One of them had to do with the academic calendar, and we are working on the final report from the Faculty Senate that will be made public soon. We voted on this one on May 3rd, and Sherry, correct me, we're on a 14-14, are we? So what we had was a 14-14 that was put as a recommendation and approved by Faculty Senate, but rejected, not signed by Interim President Gary White. And we had a new vote on May 3rd, and that invalidated disapproved the recommendation that we had on the floor. And Dr. Gilbert is going to sign the recommendation that puts us, as signed recommendation that put us back on the 14-14 plan for a year. The BAPC work on the academic dishonesty policy. I've been on the BAPC for many years, and we've been going back and forth on this one. So that's probably version 605 prime that has been approved. A final review and edit were made, and the policy was sent to Faculty Senate and approved. So we have a new academic dishonesty policy which is in place. The BAPC discussed policy regarding students with disability, and a document was also presented to Faculty Senate and approved. There also a discussion looking at the requirement for transfer students. Students transferring at least 60 hours of credit would be excused from taking Core 1 CT courses, which is new. The committee reviewed the policy on high demand courses, and several of the courses were no longer high demand, and the policy was updated to reflect that particular fact. The student debt policy is still under further review. We expect to see a recommendation probably for the next Faculty Senate, Executive Committee at least, and you may see that at the Faculty Senate meeting in October. University Curriculum Committee, the UCC, I have to drop the hat. They approved 178 curricular proposals during the year 2017 and 2018. That is a significant amount of work. Now, if you are a faculty senator, you reviewed 178 curriculum proposals as well. So senators, you have done a good job as well, but the bulk of the work was the UCC, so congratulations to them. Student Conduct and Welfare Committee. We had an important an important recommendation that was discussed by the Student Conduct and Welfare Committee had to do with the Marshall University becoming a trauma-informed and resilience-infused campus. So let me try to summarize a little bit about that. Trauma-informed campus means that personnel are familiar with the finding of the Adverse Childhood Experience Study and related research. It means that they know the effect of traumatic stress on an individual's ability to learn, and that is that traumatic stress substantially interferes with the ability to learn due to biological changes in the brain. It also means that personnel understand that there are approaches to learning that ameliorate the effect of traumatic stress. And with the PTSD and other issues related to that, that's something which is probably fairly important that faculty should be aware of. I've been exposed to multiple students coming back from military service and sometimes having difficulty to cope with coming back to civil system. Faculty Development Committee, correlated information reported during the spring general faculty meetings, so we are aware of what's going on. New information is we had 15 applications totaling $10,948 that were reviewed at the February 10th meeting. 12 applicants were awarded $7,948 of total funding. 24 applications were submitted prior to April 13th meeting for a total of $21,151.49 in requests. 21 applicants were received an award for a total of $70,368.49. I like the 49 cents. Leaving $5,059.57 available at the end of the academic year. Low-hanging fruit. The committee continued to work with IT to refine the online application and scoring system, and we should be able to get a new rubric sometime soon. Legislative Affairs Committee, LAC, 3 recommendations and 8 resolutions. Thanks, Maybeth. I'm going to cite a few of them. We have a task that was assigned to them that was to review the advisory committee of faculty recommendation for the West Virginia legislature for 2017 and 2018. Committee approved the ACF recommendations. The same committee was also charged with reviewing the language of the Board of Governors Policy AA 36 on political activities. I do not know it by heart, so you're going to have to refer that to the Board of Governors website. The language was reviewed, suggested a change to the policy to clarify that faculty may engage in political activity as long as they're not doing so as representative of the university was acceptable. The LAC presented a recommendation to Faculty Senate, which adopted that recommendation. So you can still be involved in politics as long as it's on your own time. Communicated with legislators to oppose, after the passage of the resolution by Faculty Senate, legislation legalizing guns on campus, and kept the Faculty Senate informed of all legislative actions related to that particular issue. Page 600. The Faculty Personnel Committee, the FPC, there were discussion on policy related to amorous relationship, and the committee decided that the current policy on that matter was sufficient. No changes here. The proposal to create an ambushed person position of office to ensure neutral conflict resolution was taken under further advisement, pending clarification and elaboration of the purpose of such a position and office. Quite a few universities have such an office, and my alma mater, Oregon State University, has one. I checked their policies, and they're actually not bad as an example of what could be done with an ombudsperson. So that particular policy is still under discussion. The committee also reviewed and approved sabbatical leave application as one of its constitutional mandates. The University Function Committee had one recommendation that was for a speaker for the medical school graduation, and it was approved, as well as a speaker selected for the commencement. We have an ad hoc committee that was created for the Constitution, the change in the Constitution. So this one did a good work. We have everything taken care of. It's been voted. The new Constitution is implemented as of September 19, 2018. So we are under the new Constitution. I will mention that there's an ad hoc committee that was created last year and has been reactivated or continued that have to do with the OCR for the evaluation of faculties. And this is ongoing. I will try to have you informed about what is being done. The committee is supposed to meet, I believe, sometime early October. There's an initial meeting that was planned with Dr. Taylor and Dr. Gilbert, I believe next week. I will be attending that, and Faculty Senate will try to keep you informed of all the news related to that particular aspect of faculty evaluation. Based on my end of year report, that is all the information I have available. I'll try to keep it short. I have someone coming after me, so I want to make sure that I give time for President Gilbert for the State of the University address. Dr. Gilbert.
Thank you. I want to congratulate all the new faculty members and all the new administrators that are with us today. Let's have another round of applause for those individuals. And I want to thank all of you for being here today, and I can tell you that I am pleased to be here to talk to you about the state of the university. I will approach the topic with guarded optimism, but I will tell you that the state of the university is sound. And one of the reasons that the university is sound is that we have a new provost, Dr. Jaime Taylor. We had him introduced earlier. He has joined us from Austin Peay State University in Tennessee, and he brings a wealth of knowledge about academic affairs, and he has hit the ground running. and I'm very pleased with what Dr. Taylor has already done. As far as our university budget is concerned, I want to start by saying that I was very pleased that we were able to cobble together a 5% across-the-board raise for faculty and staff. And I use the word cobble because we had already put in place a 3% raise in March. When the state provided additional monies, they gave us another 1.5%. It wasn't quite what they had promised. We were able to add 2% more to the 3% to take it up to 5%. And I will stress the across-the-board part because we have a group working right now on the classified staff salary scale, and we will be implementing new minimums on that scale and hope to put the minimums into effect in December of this year. As you heard earlier, I expressed some concerns to the Senate about the OCR system for merit raises and stated that my position would be to implement across-the-board raises until a fairer, more uniform system can be put in place for faculty merit. Many faculty have expressed their dissatisfaction with the current system, and I'd like the faculty to take the lead on this. We will continue to apply scrutiny to our budget and look for ways to make a more efficient administration of our budget. Academic Affairs will be looking at student credit hour production and considering the movement of positions into high-need growth areas. I want to continue to raise faculty and staff salaries, but I can't do that unless we increase enrollment or reduce expenses. We've undertaken a pilot project in psychology where we're looking at the use of larger sections to improve the efficiency of course delivery. This could serve to save us money in the future that can then be put back into salaries. Provost Taylor will be collecting data to look at faculty salaries and equity. I have asked him to look at ways that we could address faculty compression, salary compression, if we were to have the resources. I think there may also be some gender issues associated with salaries, and we'll be looking at the data with an eye toward gender as we look at that data. Moving on to some of the projects that we're looking at in terms of construction, we have entered into a public-private partnership called a P3 arrangement with a company called Signet to construct a new pharmacy school building and also 280 beds of residential housing for graduate students. When I say graduate students, I mean medical students, pharmacy students, and other graduate students. If you've driven by Hal Greer Boulevard lately, you've seen the steel going up. We will open the new building, fingers crossed, and the housing in the fall of 2019. I should also mention that we are undertaking this project with Signet's money, not Marshall's money. That's the beauty of a P3. The revenue from the apartments will finance the project for Signet, but they're putting up most, if not all, of the money. This past April, in April of 2018, a student member of the Students for a Democratic Society approached me about the name on Jenkins Hall. Albert Jenkins was an officer in the Confederate Army and apparently was highly regarded at one time in Cabell County. I formed a broad-based ad hoc committee with that SDS student on that committee, and I've asked them to look at all the names on Marshall's campus and report back to me by the end of this academic year. I will then communicate their recommendations to the Board of Governors, and I should also mention that the Board of Governors has the authority for all naming and renaming of buildings. As you may know, Carl Mummert and Cam Brammer headed a strategic planning committee formed by our former provost, Gail Ormiston. The committee completed its work last semester, and our new provost, Provost Taylor, has established a process now to vet that plan, revise, and finalize it before presenting it to the Board of Governors for approval. This process will seek broad input from the various constituencies. Having served on a HLC, and that's the Higher Learning Commission Reaffirmation Review Panel, I know it's very important to document and to have stakeholder review in the process. So I commend Provost Taylor for putting in place a great process that will allow us to meet the expectations of the HLC. Growing enrollment continues to be a top priority, particularly if we hope to have the resources we need to build competitive salaries and have a vibrant university. I'm particularly pleased that Provost Taylor has developed some new and innovative ways to engage our colleges and departments in recruitment. We have just placed a new regional recruiter in North Texas near Dallas, and we will be monitoring the effectiveness of such an in-place recruiter. Texas is one state where high school graduates are growing. We will be using this as an experiment over the next 2 years to see if we can create a Texas pipeline to Marshall. I'm also beginning the second round of my high school tours. The first day out a few weeks ago, we went to 3 high schools and we yielded a very impressive number of applications. I think it helps going out early in the school year because all of the students in every auditorium we were in, all of them filled out an application. Last year, I visited 44 schools. I'm not promising that same number this year, but I do hope to go to a large number of schools, and when I'm not able to go, I'm going to send Provost Taylor in my place. Marshall's research funding has continued to grow. It is up 35% over the past 2 years and now sits at $31 million per year. We've implemented a new undergraduate research program that was done last year, and we're seeing more and more people engaged in research. We have had some significant funding from SAMHSA, NIH, NSF, and other sources. And I'm proud that the faculty of Marshall are stepping up and producing in many different ways, in discovering new knowledge, in writing grants, and in publishing in respected journals. This is raising the stature of Marshall University, and I'm very proud of that. I'm working with folks in the Marshall University Foundation, the deans, and others in a silent phase of a fundraising effort. And we've been developing a rough plan at the foundation, and we're building items for consideration to donors around the following themes. The first theme is student-centered experience or student-centric experience, which would include things such as scholarships, retention, and cultural diversity. We're also looking at academic expansion and ascension, which would include new programs, faculty recruitment, and also retention. We're looking at innovative learning environments, which would include some new buildings, things such as the Drinko Academy, the Woodsum Lyceum, high-tech instructional space, renovation of the Student Center, and other things. We're also looking at research and creative discovery. We would look at expanding the undergraduate research program, the possibility of a research center, and also more funding for our CLEO project, just some examples. The last area of focus is community partnerships and engagement, and some examples there would be community outreach, the opioid recovery effort, our Japanese outreach program, and P3s. I can tell you that we're going to be looking at need-based and merit-based scholarships as a priority. We're also considering a new building for the College of Business and a new baseball stadium, just to mention a few of the bigger projects that we'll be looking at. 2 years ago, a number of us came together at Marshall, and I formed a substance abuse and recovery coalition. About 50 people on campus came together and started to collaborate and cooperate on numerous projects. This is a roadmap to recovery for Huntington, and you can see many different things along the path. I'm not going to mention that, the different projects, but we have had many millions of dollars in research funded at Marshall University, and we have added a new addiction medicine department to our medical school and also hired a world expert in addiction. We've had visitors from many different federal agencies come to Huntington and to Marshall, and every single one has said that we are doing it right in Huntington and at Marshall. Drug overdoses in our city are down 41% this year, and violent crimes are down 24%. Things are working in Huntington. We are in the process of creating a Center for Excellence in Addiction and Recovery, and Marshall is on track to be the world's leading university in providing answers to addiction and recovery. We are proud to have Ms. Amy Sanders playing a major role in this effort. I was talking to a class today and they were asking me just what does Marshall do and how are we viewed by the state of West Virginia? And I mentioned that one area that we don't talk about enough in higher education is the ability of higher education to leverage with the state in economic development. This past year, I was able to bring together 9 other institutions in southern West Virginia to form the Alliance for the Economic Development of Southern West Virginia. These are both the 2-year and the 4-year institutions, and the idea is to pool our resources as assistance to the governor and the Department of Commerce in attracting businesses to the state. Just think about what we have. We have educational resources, we have academic programs, we have workforce training, we have research and development, we have faculty experts, we have student interns, and we have talented graduates all adding to the mix. The group, the Alliance, has submitted a grant to ARC to get funding to do some workforce development in southern West Virginia and training in the area of energy efficiencies. And these energy efficiencies would actually be implemented on the campuses of those institutions in the Alliance. I should also mention that the Alliance is putting on a conference in South Charleston on October 23rd, and it's going to be called Small Cities, Big Solutions. And it's going to be talking about how our institutions in small cities in West Virginia can create big solutions in terms of jobs and economic development. Along with the Alliance for the Economic Development of Southern West Virginia, about that same time, another effort was being formed called the West Virginia Forward effort, with West Virginia University and Marshall partnering to provide guidance in helping shape an economic roadmap for the state. This group is looking at site preparedness, industry segment expansion, creative ways to get students to market tourism, and also ways to keep graduates in the state and other innovative ways to advance West Virginia's economy. Marshall has just completed a feasibility study to look at whether or not Huntington could support a business incubator. A group of us visited the Innovation Depot in Birmingham this past year and came back with the notion that perhaps a smaller version of that could be implemented right here in Huntington. So we are looking at utilizing our Lewis College of Business and other resources to provide support for entrepreneurs who want to start a business in our region. We're considering renovation of the Marshall Plaza, which is the building where Husson's Pizza is located right across the street from Old Main. We're continuing to look at ways that we can expand our academic offerings, and we've just started a new undergraduate program in biomedical engineering, and we've just approved the planning for a physician assistance program, which will likely start in 2020. We've also hired a consultant to consider a feasibility of an aviation program at Marshall. Marshall was approached by Yeager Airport this past spring, and they said that they would be interested in us exploring a flight school on their facility. So we've also reached out to Tri-State Airport about aircraft maintenance, and also airline management programs. We will determine whether or not this will be something that we can pull off financially. We don't want it to cost us any money. We would want it to be neutral or a moneymaker. Earlier this year, we formed 2 commissions to address issues on campus. The first was the President's Commission on Diversity, Equality, and Inclusion, led by Drs. Kelly Johnson and Tim Melvin. They've sponsored a number of talks and events around to promote diversity on campus and also in the community. The other group is the President's Commission on Women's Issues, and it's being led by Leah Tolliver. And that group co-sponsored the visit of Dr. Virginia Valian 2 weeks ago. Dr. Valian had a very fruitful discussion around campus, and we are looking forward to taking some of the actions that we can implement as a result of her visit. That concludes my presentation. I continue to be very excited about Marshall University, the direction it's going, and I want to thank all of you for your attention.